Welcome back to Ticats Audio Network. Players from both the Blue Bombers and Tiger-Cats are certainly getting acquainted. The seats are being filled there. That excitement level is rising here at Tim Hortons Field as we get you primed for Tiger-Cats Pregame presented by Greenworks. Now, whether on offense or defense, Greenworks Tools has got you and your lawn covered. Tackle any chore like the pros with our full line of equipment at greenworkstools.com. Well, the Ticats, according to many around the nation, are in a David versus Goliath situation, and one fellow that certainly does a great job of prepping our listeners on a weekly basis. So glad to have him, John Salavanis, and he's joined us for his pregame salutations. Always great to see you, Coach.
Well, thank you, Bubba, and it's good to be here.
You know, Coach, as we all saw in Week 1 in Winnipeg, in that incredibly tight comeback loss at IG Field, Hamilton actually got off to a 3-0 start, could have went up 10-0. Bo Levi gets intercepted, and then you snap your fingers, and it was 21-3 for Winnipeg. We cannot have that situation happen here today.
No, absolutely not, Bubba. If we get way behind in the ballgame early, it's going to be an uphill battle that's going to be very difficult. But at the same time, think of it this way, the Cats' effort last week was one of the best efforts they've had all year. In a game with multiple score changes, they kept answering back each time. They won the takeaway battle, which is always one of those things we talk about. They got better protection for Powell. Powell came out and responded 21 of 32, 326 yards, 3 TDs. That's the kind of effort they need in this ball game today.
So how do they start fast in this game? If you're a coach, what's the plan against this Bombers team?
Well, I think you come out with a definitive game plan in terms of, I've got these 10 plays, we'll say, that we're going to run, and it covers all of the different scenarios, whether it's 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 1, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 15, doesn't matter. But there is a play call. Everybody memorizes that play call. You practice it the day before in your last practice of the game or season for the game, and then you come out and you execute it. And don't deviate from it. Stay with it. It was a good game plan on the whiteboard. Why won't it work on the field? Go ahead and use it.
So what was so impressive about last week's win to you for the Cats?
Well, I think the way they kept answering back against the Red Blacks. Each time they got down, they came back. I thought the goal line stand was a tremendous effort on the defensive side. But remember this, Powell took them off the goal line and switched the field on them. I think they got 2 first downs before they had to punt. Then he punts the ball, and the Red Blacks take over on their end of the field on a 22-yard line. So I think that was the answer that I would give to you.
Yeah, those are those hidden momentum shifts there in the game. And you mentioned the goal line stand. Well, early in the game, the big tackle by Stavros Katsantonis to just keep Bahar out of the end zone, and then that 3 tries at the plunge could not get it. And then later in the game, you see Richard Leonard sacrifice his body to keep Crum out of the end zone, and he got hurt on the play, but that was just some grit and some heart, in my opinion. And I loved watching that game. I loved seeing that will and desire out of the team. One thing I want to ask you though. We had a few injuries in that game, and how much of that is, Richard Leonard, take him for an example, he's out this game. He sacrificed his body to keep him out of the end zone. Well, how much of that is because they played 4 days after the Labor Day game?
That was my thought right away. When you see guys getting injured on the field and not being able to practice the next week, etc., I think that the short time span, really took a physical toll on this team. Now they've had time to recover, but some of those guys, Adeleke and you already mentioned Leonard, are hurt in this ball game and out for that. And I think it was a direct result of the short time they had to get ready.
So a few changes in the lineup with those injuries. Dylan Wynn also out tonight. What stands out to you on this? Do you think with 2 new defensive backs play into the field. Do you think that Zach and the Winnipeg offense will try to exploit that in the game? Or
the undermanned secondary is what we're going to call it. Now, Winnipeg averages 288 yards a game passing. He has 33 30-plus plays. That's a tremendous amount.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, and they've thrown 32 TDs, but on top of that, they also own the time of possession. You would think with all those long strikes they wouldn't have time of possession, but they do because of Oliveri, their running back, and Augustine, their running back. Their second down conversion rate's 53%. So it's going to be very difficult unless the front can control the run game and get enough pressure on Collaros that he can't go deep.
Let me just hold you there, and I know you guys are in a great conversation here. You brought up Brady Oliveira. That's a name that I think a lot of people are still getting familiarized with in the Canadian Football League. But if they haven't known about him, they know about him now this year. I mean, a lot of people are talking about MOP conversation being between two quarterbacks, Kelly in Toronto, Collaros in Winnipeg. But really, the two-time MOP, is his biggest competition coming from the running back position at Brady Oliveira?
I don't think the competition will come there because we generally look at quarterbacks when we talk MOP. But at the same time, you had mentioned to me earlier about who is the most dominant player, perhaps, for Winnipeg. Is it Collaros or is it Oliveira? And the answer is obviously Collaros gets all of the accolades. But Oliveira, 1,440 yards already on the ground. Does he make Collaros a better quarterback? And I say definitely he makes him a better quarterback because you watch this game and you will see play action is where Collaros makes his big moves.
Yeah, I think he's in the conversation of who's the best running back in the league, perhaps, but I don't think there's any comparison with him and Zach as far as MOP race. Personally, I think that Zach is, in my opinion, heads above anyone else in this league right now. Yeah, I know Kelly's having a great season, and so is Toronto. So it's a fair battle, but Zach's he's a really strong player, and he leads this team. And I don't want to keep pumping their Winnipeg's tires because let's get to some Hamilton ball here. But this team also, they play disciplined ball. They got the fewest penalties in the league, 5.8 per game. That's on pace for the best since 1980. They don't typically turn the ball over a lot. In the past recent memory, they've just been notorious for strip sacks and turnovers created on defense. We already said it. You got to take care of the ball, but you feel like there's got to be a spark, whether it's from special teams or a defensive touchdown, that really get this crowd and this team fired up today. I think
Yeah, I agree with you. What you're looking for is that big play to come from the Ticats, and it could come on an interception. It could come on a punt return. It could come on a kickoff return, but there has to be some kind of a major big play that sets Hamilton up and gives them the opportunity in the ballgame. You mentioned the penalties. The least penalized team, Winnipeg's, only had 75 penalties compared to Hamilton's 113 penalties. So penalties will play a big role. If we can avoid the penalties, and especially if it's a big play, a run back, for example, for a touchdown, don't have that holding call back on the 10-yard line that kills the whole play.
Well, one thing Hamilton does lead the league in is those big play returns, and that's considered over 30 yards a return. They got 12 on the season and only 5 against. So you're right. You can't take a penalty on one of those explosive returns, and we're still kind of yet waiting to see that get in the end zone. But not always, but having some regular frequency of getting good field position out of a return is a big advantage as well.
But, to me, this game and the game next week are going to reveal the true character of this team. And what they need to do is they need to avoid that 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And play it this way. BC was a step forward. Then you go against Toronto and you take a step back, maybe 2 steps back. And then you go into the Red Blacks lair and you come out with a big win. That's a step forward. Don't have Winnipeg make you make that 2-step back. Go ahead and carry the ball to them. Make the game against them physically.
Well, it's a great opportunity for the Cats. Toronto beat Montreal last night, so they're sitting at 6-7. If Hamilton wins today, they're sitting at 6-7, and then they effectively control their destiny if they're going to have a home playoff game, because they still play Montreal once, and if they win out, they're going to get second. So, but huge opportunity here. I want to just one quick question, or let's just chat about Taylor Powell just for our last minute here. His first 3 starts, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 76.1 rating. Last 3 starts, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, 117.4 rating. But to me, it's the visual, the visual of the confidence you see, the poise, the moving around, keeping his eyes downfield. He just looks so much more comfortable, so much more confident, and I would love to see him carry that over by taking shots downfield and not playing tight, playing loose today.
I agree with you, and when you talk to the players around him, and you know this as a player, when he's in the huddle, he's in command of the team. And that's so important for a quarterback in any game. But in this particular game, I agree with you. Let's get after them. Let's not play conservative. Now, Milanovic has had some time with Powell as a quarterback now. Now it's time to open the game up and see if we can't make the vertical throws.
He is Coach John Salavanis, and he just presented his pregame salutations. Coach Sal, always a pleasure. Your insight, the way you look at the game, your honesty, and I know our fans do. So thanks for joining us again.
Well, it's my pleasure, and it's a Hall of Fame day. Let's play like champions today.